So I had this epiphany, and I want you guys to stay with me to the end of this video and see if what I'm about to discuss in this particular video is going to shed light on this topic, or whether you'll have the same epiphany that I did. Okay. This epiphany that I had is in regards to let's think about something. Okay. I don't know how old you may be. Okay. Let's start here. I don't know how old you may be, but regardless of how old you are, I want you to picture the very first cemetery that you've ever seen in your life, because we've all seen one. There's probably one not too far from where you live. Maybe it's one that you drive past on your way to work, from home from work. uh, Maybe you've attended a funeral. I'd imagine if you're above the age of 15, you've attended a funeral at least once in your life. I want you to think about the very first cemetery that you ever saw, passed, experienced, in whatever way it may be. Okay. Now that you've got that locked into your mind, I want you to keep it there. And I want you to follow me until the end of this video. In this country, okay, in this country, every day, 8,100, 8,219 people pass away every day in this country. Every day. I'm not talking about worldwide. I'm just talking about in this country. 8,219 people pass away every day in this country. That's a little bit over 3 million people per year that pass away here in this country. 3 million, to keep it a nice round figure. It's a little bit higher than that, but let's keep it at a round figure of 3 million. Okay. 3 million people. Now, let's multiply that times, I don't know. I'm going to take my age, for example. I'm going to multiply times 30. Okay. Since the first time I experienced the cemetery was probably when I was around 10, maybe 11. I don't know. Somewhere between 9 and 11, I guess. So I'm going to multiply it times 30. 3 million people per year. Okay. Times 30 years is a little bit over 90 million people. So if 3 million people are passing away every year, in 30 years, 90 million people will have passed away. It's a little bit more than that, but we're keeping it at a nice round figure. Okay. 90 million people. I want you to think about that cemetery that I asked you about at the beginning of this video. Picture it in your mind once again. The first time you saw it and the most recent time you saw it, which could have been a few hours ago. Maybe you're going to see it again a couple hours from viewing this video. But particularly if you are in your 30s, 40s, if you're older than your 30s, if you're 30 plus, I want you to think about that cemetery. 30 years later. Why hasn't it gotten any bigger? Let's think about what I just said. 8,219 people per day is 3 million people per year. Times 30 years is 90 million people. That cemetery that you first encountered, the very first one that came to your mind, why hasn't it gotten any bigger? Why aren't there any new plots of land in this country that are being turned into new cemeteries? Are you following me? Where are the bodies going? Now, I'm not talking about people who have gone missing and people who are presumed to be deceased. I'm obviously not talking about people who may have died at sea. Maybe there was a cruise ship that shipwrecked and everybody drowned, like the Titanic or something like that. I'm talking about confirmed deaths, homicide, suicide, natural causes, accidental. 3 million people per year. 90 million people in 30 years. Yet cemeteries, that first one that came to your mind, is not getting any bigger. It's not, they're not tearing things down around that cemetery to expand on the size, on the square mileage of that cemetery. There are no new plots of land that are being converted into new cemeteries. Where are these bodies going? Okay. I also want to bring to your attention now, for those of you who have attended funerals, because many of you who are viewing this video, you've attended a funeral at some point in your life. You probably attended multiple funerals in your life the older you are. Okay. I want you to think about this. During those times that you attended a funeral, have you ever, and I mean ever, seen them completely cover the body up, or the casket up, once they lower it into the gravesite? Have you ever seen them cover it up completely, closed it, sealed it with the dirt? I'm sure you haven't. And if you have, I need you to comment below saying otherwise, because I don't think you have. For those of you who have been with me on this channel for a while, you know that I used to be in the United States Air Force. I am a veteran of the United States Air Force. And during my time in the Air Force, I worked on a unit called the Base Honor Guard. Okay. For those of you who are military, you know what the Honor Guard does. But I'm going to pretend some of you don't know, because some of you may have never served in the military. The Base Honor Guard is responsible for providing final funeral honors to fallen service members, whether they be active duty, veterans, or retirees. Okay. We're responsible for providing final military honors. And final military honors basically means the folding of the American flag and presented to their next of kin, or their surviving kin, should I say, a 21 gun salute. Now, the situation differs depending on the type of funeral it is. Okay. I don't want to get too far off topic, but I'll briefly explain. If it's for an active duty service member or a retiree, they get full military honors. That means that we, as the honor guard, are going to act as the pallbearers. We're going to carry the casket from inside the funeral home where the ceremony took place. We're going to put it into the hearse. Then, when the hearse arrives at the gravesite, we're going to, the same six of us, pull it out from the hearse. We're going to walk it over to the markup. One of us will remain at the head of the casket. The other will remain at the foot, while the other four have gone back into the field and taken position in front of their rifles. The two who remained at the casket, one at the head and one at the foot, at the appropriate time, we're going to take the American flag, which is draped over top of the casket. We're going to fold it. We're going to give it to the NCO, who presents it to the surviving kin. Okay. Then we're going to take our position with the other members who are standing at their rifles. And at the appropriate time, we're going to pick up our weapons, and we're going to very professionally, ceremonially, and almost in perfect sync, fire the 21 gun salute, which is basically 3 volleys from 7 different rifles over the heart of the casket. It's what you see in movies. Okay. Now, in a veteran funeral, this is somebody who served in the military, who got out, who didn't reach their full retirement. Their funeral is a little bit different. They had their own pallbearers, and the only thing we do is we show up at the gravesite where the casket and their remains will already be. And we'll just take position at the head and the foot of the casket. At the appropriate time, we will fold the flag, present it to our NCO, who present it to their remaining surviving next of kin. There is no 21 gun salute for a veteran, only for active duty service members who have fallen and retired military service members, okay, who have passed away. I don't know how many of these funerals I've done, but I was stationed in Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina. So I was responsible for all funerals that took place in the state of South Carolina. I was responsible for the upper portion of Georgia. We were responsible for certain parts of North Carolina and certain parts of Tennessee. We did a lot of funerals during the time that I was in Honor Guard. And I can tell you, not a single time, not once, do I ever recall seeing them lower the casket down into the gravesite, the 6-foot hole that they dig. Not once. If you have, comment down below. And for those of you who have seen a casket ever be lowered down 6 feet, into the grave site hole, have you ever seen it completely covered up? Because the funeral usually ends when ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Somebody may throw a flower down there. Somebody may throw a handful of dirt. Somebody may pick up a shovel and throw that first scoop of dirt onto the casket. And that is the end of the funeral. The family at that point, they're usually leaving. Okay. Ceremony over with. And that site remains uncovered. Okay. All day long, it remains uncovered. Okay. Where are these bodies going? I'm going to run the numbers again for you. 8,219 people per day, which is 3 million people per year. And after 20 to 30 years, that's 60 to 90 million people. Okay. Now let's just say 1%, because I'm definitely not saying that all 90 million of these people who passed away live in the same city as you. Okay. I'm talking about all across the country, nationwide. Let's just say 1% of that 90 million people lived in your area, which means they were those same cemeteries. The first one that came to your mind, that's their local cemetery too. 1% of 90 million is 900,000 people across 30 years. Sounds like a lot, right? 900,000 people passed away in your area. If you think that sounds like a lot, let's cut it to a 0.5%. Let's just say 0.5% of people out of that 900 million, out of that 90 million across 30 years, let's say half a percent are from the area where you live. That meaning they live around those same funerals, those same cemeteries. 0.5% is 450,000 people over 30 years that have passed away in the area where you live, local to the same cemetery that came to your mind when I first asked that question. 450,000. Where are the bodies going? That cemetery didn't get any bigger. No new cemeteries were built. Where are their bodies going? I saw this video and I'm going to do my best to edit it into this video. It's a short video. There was this guy in Augusta, Georgia. Ironically, I said I was responsible for doing final military honors in Augusta, in that part of Georgia. He says that he's from Jacksonville originally, but he lived in Augusta. Said that his daughter had passed away, and he and his wife decided that they wanted to move. Okay, but they were regularly visiting their daughter's grave. They decided that they wanted to move. I can't remember where he mentioned, but they decided that they wanted to move and that they wanted to have his daughter's body exhumed, I believe is the correct word, so that they can have her cremated and they can kind of, carry her around with them, or at least keep her in her house so they wouldn't have to keep coming back and forth to the same cemetery where her remains were, because it was kind of far away from where they were moving. And he says that when he instructed them to, exhume the body, paid whatever he paid for that process, that her body, her remains, her casket, none of it was there. The headstone was there, but when they dug it up, there was nothing there. And when he looked for an explanation from the cemetery staff who was responsible for digging it up, they explained to her, "Oh, it's been 20 some odd years. All of that stuff, her casket, her remains, her casket, they've gone back to the earth." Bullshit. Not in 20 years. Bro, we're still discovering, what do you call these people? Archaeologists are still finding bones, human remains or animal remains from hundreds of years ago. Now, maybe in 20 years, whatever flesh was there may have decomposed. Okay. But her bones, her clothing, and her hair would still remain. And for damn sure, the casket would still be there. The casket is made out of materials that don't decompose for over 100 years. So what kind of bullshit explanation are you giving people that her remains and the caskets remain, they decompose and they went back to the earth? It's bullshit. Her casket and her remains were never in the gravesite, which explains again why these cemeteries are not getting bigger, why there are no new cemeteries being built off of new plots of land. Where are the bodies going? I'm going to ask you again. Now, I'm about to make a very weird and interesting connection. Okay. The number one fast food chain on the planet, they'll go unnamed in this video. I won't say their name because I don't want to be demonetized. I don't want somebody finding my YouTube shit and saying we gonna sue him for whatever little money he making. Okay. The biggest fast food franchise on the planet got them arches. You know who I'm talking about without me saying the name. This fast food chain is worldwide. They ain't just in this country. They're in Europe. They're in China. They're in Australia. They're in Germany. They're worldwide. They're everywhere. Okay. Follow me for a second because they're everywhere. Now, this fast food franchise serves two particular meats. At breakfast, the meat that they're serving is what? They're serving sausage patties. And in some cases, I think in some rare instances, they might be serving like steak in some type of burrito or something like that. Okay. But during all of their other meals, lunch, dinner, supper, and for the ones that stay open 24 hours, they're serving beef, burgers, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, uh, Big Macs, quarter pounders, double quarter pounders, and for you big back bitches out there, they got triple quarter pounders. Triple fucking quarter pounders. Think about this. They're serving beef practically all fucking day long, with the exception of maybe 3 hours that they're serving breakfast, and that's sausage patties and some type of steak and potato burrito. How many fucking cows do you think are here on the planet? Bigger question. If this fast food franchise, okay, if this franchise is located worldwide and they're primarily serving beef all fucking day long, okay, and sausage for like a 3 hour window, how many cows does it take to make that many beef patties? Think about it. All day, every day, this fast food franchise is making beef patties, singles, doubles, and triples, right? And they're located worldwide. Don't you think that if people are eating burgers from this fast food franchise all day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for the last 50 or 60 years, don't you think that cows would be an endangered species? Perhaps, maybe even non existent at this point. Think about this shit. But cows are not non existent, they're still around. Cows are not even nowhere near being placed on the endangered species list. It ain't adding up. Where the fuck is this fast food franchise getting this meat? Because it ain't coming from cows. I can assure you that it's not coming from cows because there wouldn't be any more cows. Okay. Now, some of y'all are going to say it's lab grown meat or it's 3D printed meat or some shit like that. That wasn't even a concept that we started talking about until maybe 2023, 2022. This fast food franchise has been around for fucking 60 years. 60. Long before motherfuckers was talking about cloning meat, 3D printing meat, or lab grown meat or any of this shit. 60 years. Where the fuck is all of this meat coming from that this fast food franchise is serving? So I just asked you two very different questions, okay? And I'm trying to make a connection between it without having to say it to you. Question number one, if 3 million people are passing away every year, but funerals, cemeteries, not getting any bigger, no new plots of land are being turned into new cemeteries, where are the bodies going? Okay? There's not a lot of people out here that are being cremated. You know what I mean? They're not. There are not a lot of people that are donating their body to science. There's a very small percentage of people who are doing those things. So out of 3 million people per year, where are the bodies going if the cemeteries are not getting any bigger and no new cemeteries are being built? Question number two, if cows are not on the endangered species list, and cows are not extinct, obviously, Where are these fast food chains getting all of this meat? I'm going to tie this shit together for you. This same fast food franchise that I'm speaking about, who will go unnamed, has a contract with hospitals. Fuck you got a contract with hospitals for? Are you serving your food to the patients? No, you're not. Because all of you have gone to a hospital at some point and you visited a sick relative or friend, somebody who had to go through a surgery. I want you to think about a time where you've gone to the hospital and you had to be there for at least a day, at least one day, all day. Are they at breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Are they serving food from this particular fast food franchise to the patients? Fuck no. They're giving them hospital food, which most of them are complaining about, right? When you walk into a hospital, do you see this particular fast food franchise have their own little vendor in the cafeteria? No. What the fuck you got a contract with the hospitals for? It's not to feed the patients. What is it for then? About 20 years ago, I saw this interview. It's this Jewish guy. I can't find it now. I definitely was looking for it because I wanted to tag it in this video or maybe edit it into the video. I can't fucking find it. About 20, 25 years ago, I saw this interview. It was one guy interviewing another guy. The guy that was being interviewed was Jewish. The guy that was interviewing him, I'm not too sure. He could have been Caucasian. At that time, I wasn't well versed in being able to differentiate between different ethnicities that are of the lighter hue. Okay. But the guy that was being interviewed was Jewish. I know this for a fact. And at one point in the interview, it was kind of like one of those world order type interviews or some mess like that, like stuff that's going on behind the scenes that they don't want people to know about. And at one point in this interview, this guy that was being interviewed was so fucking arrogant, so fucking brash, so blunt, so arrogant. He was asked, what's happening with all the human bodies? Where are all the missing children? Where are all the missing people going that we never find? And this motherfucker responds, what do you mean where they're going? We grind them up and we put them in a fucking sausage patties. We put them in a hamburger meat and you're eating them every day at your favorite fast food restaurants. And I can tell you that shit so confidently because if you hear it, if anybody hears me, they're not going to believe me. They think this is a lie. That's why I can tell you this out loud. Nobody's going to believe it. 3 million people are dying every year. Cemeteries are not getting bigger. No new cemeteries are being built. Oh, bodies are going missing from the gravesite. Human remains are being missing from the gravesites. Biggest fast food franchise in the world serving sausage and hamburgers. Cows aren't an endangered species. They're not extinct. Where's the meat coming from? Is this guy telling us the truth? I'm going to let y'all decide. When you finish watching this video, the very first thing I want you to do is comment what you think. And then the next thing I want you to do is Google. Open up your browser on your device, whether it be your laptop, your phone, whatever device you're watching this content on. Open up your browser and ask Google this question. Has human DNA ever been found in fast food? You might be surprised at the answer that you get. I'm trying to tell y'all, for those of y'all that are indulging in DoorDash and Uber Eats and you're having all of this shit brought to your house every fucking day, probably every fucking meal for those of you who can't cook, you really need to start to ask yourself what it is that you're eating and see if it makes any sense. This video is not intended to turn you off or whatever your diet may be. It's only to make you aware so you can make a more conscious decision about what you're consuming and putting into your body. Because I'm inclined to believe, logically, if cemeteries aren't getting any bigger, no new plots of land are being turned into new cemeteries, but 3 million people are passing away every year. Cows are not extinct. They're not on the endangered species list. And this particular fast food franchise has a contract with hospitals, but you're not serving the patients your food. Combined with the fact that this gentleman from Augusta said that when he had his daughter's grave exhumed, and they couldn't find her remains or the casket. that none of us who are viewing this content have ever seen a casket be completely covered up and the gravesite sealed. And the fact that we have an interview from this guy that I can't find, I'm so sorry about that. If I find it later, it's going to be in a pinned comment, arrogantly admitting what they do with human remains. It's got me thinking. And I'm about 90% certain that if you're eating food from this fast food franchise, possibly any of them, to be honest with you, if it ain't chicken or fish, if it's beef or sausage, steak, you might be eating your cousin. You might be eating one of your deceased family members. I'm about 90% certain that if you are eating fast food, that we are eating deceased human remains. Dead ass. No pun intended, but dead ass. Do your research and make a well-informed decision about whether you want to change your diet here in 2026. Do remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, y'all. I'm the Real Rayhan. As always, I want to thank you for joining me. See you in the next one. Peace.